friends, welcome to Mimi's Mixed Bag. Thank you for stopping by. If you're new to my channel, check out my playlist. It is truly a mixed bag of whatever I find interesting to share. Today I am bringing you a kind of a healthy treat. It's not diet, it's just really portion control. And if you like apple pie, you're gonna love this little baked apple oatmeal granola bar. Now the recipe calls for me to make it in just a 9x13 pan, and then you just cut it up into squares. But it's not often I get to use my little Pampered Chef snack bar maker. If some of you may have one of these, and if you don't, I'm going to show you what it's like. I am not a Pampered Chef consultant. I'm just showing you what I'm using, and if you're interested in it, you can go to pamperedchef.com and find you one. They've been around for about 5 or 6 years. They're a little pricey, but I'm so glad I had it. It's got a plastic lid, and then you pull the plastic lid off, and it is a silicone. You can bake or freeze, and it's just a great way to make any kind of frozen or baked snack bars. And if you've ever looked on the back of snack bars, the ingredients, it is just unreal, some of the unpronounceable chemicals that are in those. And I just love being able to make my own granola bars. They taste so much better, and it's also portion control. And I'm making these for myself. So I'm going to take you to the kitchen, show you all the basic ingredients, see how these turn out. All right, I've got all my ingredients laid out here. I'm not going to give you the measurements to the ingredients because I think that the rightful owner should get the traffic to their website. So be sure and check out the link below if you want the full recipe. I'm only making half the recipe, so just keep in mind that your ingredients will be a little more. This is some old-fashioned oats. This is some all-purpose flour. I've mixed in some baking powder, cinnamon, and salt. You're going to need some oil, some vanilla, and then the recipe calls for apple cider, but I decided just to use some unsweetened apple sauce. I've got a little brown sugar and a diced up apple and a half an egg since I'm only making half the batch. All right, I'm going to go ahead and combine all the ingredients wet and dry, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all mixed up. That didn't take but just a couple minutes. Once I got everything mixed up, it really kind of binds itself, so I think it's going to work out great for this silicone baker. The recipe says that if you use a regular 9x13 baking dish to line it with parchment paper, but with this silicone, I really shouldn't have to. It should just be able to pop out because things just don't stick in a silicone stuff. It's taken a couple tablespoons, I would say, to fill in each little bar area. And I will tell you that I left the skin on my apples. You don't certainly have to. I just like apple skin. Also, I used one of those very fine choppers that you just press the lid down and it just will chop your apples super fine. So it worked out great for making these bars like that. But I love the fact that it's just really sticking together. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish filling these up. There, and would you look, I had the exact amount that I needed to make the 12 bars. I'm gonna make sure and make myself a note that a half a batch fits this bar maker perfectly. I've already preheated my oven to 350, and I'm going to bake them for about 30 minutes. All right, I decided to go ahead and just pull them out. They were in there for a solid 25 minutes at 350. They weren't too brown or anything, but I just thought as thin as they were, that's probably all they needed to cook. So I'm gonna let them sit for about 15 minutes, and then I'll pull one out and see what they look like. I think they're gonna pull out pretty good. But I did some math while they were cooking, and the full recipe yields 16 bars. The recipe says there's 76 calories each, which gives me a total of 1,216 calories. And so I only made 12, and I made half the recipe. I figured up using the exact ingredients would be about 100 calories per bar. But since I substituted applesauce instead of apple cider, unsweetened applesauce, it did lower the calories down to about 90, maybe even a little less. And another substitution I did is the recipe calls for wheat flour, and I just used all-purpose. Now, a couple other notes I want you to be aware of. This recipe is very low in sugar. With half a recipe, I only used 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And I used Gala apples, and I think next time, if it isn't sweet enough, I will use maybe Honey Crisp. Those are a lot sweeter apple, and it may help make it sweeter. I don't know, we'll just see how it tastes. But another thing I noticed, if you use muffin tin, or if you use individual brownie pans or something like that, because not everybody's going to have this bar maker, keep in mind that the apples do cook down. So some of my bars are a little inconsistent, and so next time I'll know. This bar is kind of thin. This is one of the slots that I kind of overfilled a little bit, so I definitely need to make myself a note to overfill because the apples do cook down. Just like when you're making an apple pie, you really mound the apples because the apples do cook down. I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. I'm going to get this big thick one here, but that way I can get a good taste on it. It's definitely a soft baked granola bar. Kind of like a Nutri-Grain is what I think of. And it's actually sweeter than I thought it would be. It doesn't have the texture of commercial type granola bars because they are kind of soft baked, but the taste is good and it is sweet enough. But I think that the main reason you would make these is strictly just it being healthier as far as ingredient wise. I looked up the ingredients of just an apple cinnamon Nutri-Grain bar. It is just unbelievable, some of the stuff that's in there. I'm gonna put it on the screen here. You can't even pronounce some of that stuff that's in it. It is pretty crazy, everything that's in it. And you saw the ingredients I used. If you're trying to watch your calories, a low sugar, and just want to eat less processed food, this is definitely a winner. Like I said, maybe try a sweeter apple if you're someone that just wants sweeter taste. Real happy with it. So with this maker, I can just keep a lid on, keep it in the freezer, and just pull one out. It'll be thawed by lunch. Or you can just wrap them up and just stick them in the freezer individually. I hope you'll try it. I'll put the recipe link below. Go check it out and make yourself some healthier granola bars. So I'll be back next week with something Christmas related. Bye-bye.